Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Community Conversations. Today I have the opportunity to sit down with Matthew Hart, president of Morris-Berg Architects in Charlotte, North Carolina. I first met Matt back in 2021 at a PSMJ event in Scottsdale, Arizona. And since then we've become friends and colleagues and have connected on a number of different architectural conferences throughout the United States. Matt is an extraordinary human being who's now recently stepped into a new leadership position, and he shares his insight on taking that role. I hope you enjoy. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being a guest today on Community Conversations. It was a pleasure to get to know you over the last few years. First off, at PSMJ event in Scottsdale in 2021, and then a number of AIA conferences over the last few years. So for anybody who hasn't had a chance to meet you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to architecture.
Sure. Thanks so much, Troy, for having me. Before I get into my story, I do want to just say thank you for having me and having this opportunity to come and speak to you. As part of this series, I've been really enjoyed watching the series over the past couple of months, the different sessions you've done. It's a real honor to be able to participate with you today. My name is Matt Hart. I am president of Morris-Berg Architects. That's a recent role for me, having been named president of the firm just over the last year. It's a position that we'll talk about it in more detail as we get into this conversation, but I think you want me to go back a number of years before that. Becoming an architect is something that really started around my junior and senior year in high school. My art teacher suggested that I look into architecture. Perhaps it was the Legos or the drawings that I was doing in class, but nonetheless began looking at some of the premier institutions in our country, Pratt, Washington University, Georgia Tech, and the University of Florida. And it wasn't when I was accepted at University of Florida that I elected to go there. Having been a Florida Georgia fan or Florida Gator fan all my life, got Florida Georgia on my mind from last week and a horrible showing from the Gators, but nonetheless. Bled orange and blue my entire life, my father going to school there. So it really made sense for me to go to school there. I spent 2 years in their architecture program, really enjoyed it, but ultimately transferred to the Savannah College of Art and Design to finish my bachelor's and then ultimately my master's of architecture, an accredited degree, which is a requirement to become a licensed architect. Following my time at Savannah College of Art and Design, I started working in Valdosta, Georgia. It's where I met my beautiful wife, had 2 kids, and ultimately got licensed. I was there for about 12 or 13 years before making the move to North Carolina, a short time in Winston-Salem, and then over the past 6 years here at Morris-Berg Architects. You know, I've been a Southerner all my life, and I've really enjoyed living in Georgia, Florida, North Carolina. And that's really sort of made me who I am, and to give back and to be part of the communities by which we live, not necessarily a transplant, across the country, but certainly knowing where you live and enjoying where you live and being able to give back to the community is something we'll talk about as the conversation goes on.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I appreciate any of those opportunities that allows you to stay close to your roots and connect with those communities that helped raise you and that you want to contribute back to. The firm you're a part of now as president has a long history itself. I would love to know a little bit about the history of your firm, as well as sort of the specialties that the firm looks at in serving its community.
Sure thing. So Morris-Berg and its current state has been around for 50 years, almost 50 years. Actually, in January of next year, we'll celebrate our 50th anniversary. We're very proud of that. As a firm who we'll talk about a little bit, has only had a few principals in its lifetime. To be one of those principals right now has been a great experience, and I look forward to leading the firm with my other partners for years to come for the next 50. So our firm has really been involved in community work within its entire history. The majority of our work, about 95%, is public, meaning that we do work for community colleges, we do work for K-12 school systems in and around the Charlotte area. We also do work for counties and cities, municipal projects that give back to the community in a little bit different way. Instead of education, we may be providing a fire training center. We may be providing a storage facility for their equipment. We may be providing an IT services facility. So the mix of our projects is actually various as it relates to higher education and municipal work and education work.
When you think about how you're serving the community and the long history that you have as a company, when you think about it in terms of how you help people or who you help, if it's the civic sector, if it's the public sector, traditionally, what are the challenges they're facing when they reach out to you? Is it, you're interviewing for a multiple bid project? Is it previous relationships that draw you to those circumstances and opportunities? But is it an RFP that draws you in, or is it a combination of everything?
It's really a combination of a lot of that. Can't really pinpoint one reason why. We certainly like to be proactive in our reach to our partners and to our clients. A lot of our work, I'd say 70 or 80% is repeat clients. So it's they are a phone call away, and we are a phone call away from them when they need a study done. But here in North Carolina, we also must compete for all the work that we chase in the public sector. That's through an RFQ process. So the first round of that is on paper with a set of qualifications, and then the second would be an in-person interview. And we'll talk a little bit about the selling of architecture and a process and a firm in a little bit. But going back to the 50-year history of our firm, being able to sell that history and be able to sell the experience that not only is mine, but is also Todd Berg's and is also the rest of the staff's here, comes quite easy when you have such a robust history behind you. It's not always easy. It's less challenging, I would say, when you do have that experience that you can share with your clients, that you do have what it takes to complete their projects.
As you think about that history, and as you think about stepping into the role that you did as president of the firm now, what was it that inspired you to take those steps? And what was that something you've always had on your mind, that you'd love to be in that leadership role within a firm, and this opportunity presented itself? But when did you first feel that pull to step into that role?
I had a great opportunity in Georgia. I mentioned earlier, living in Valdosta, Georgia, had some great mentors there that really supported me and the choices that I wanted to make about leadership. They supported me in my AIA roles. They supported me in my project management roles. And then at some point there, I was able to become a firm owner with 7 of my friends. We started a firm together, and that was my first real taste of being able to be a leader and to sort of set your own destiny. I had a great time working with those individuals. They're now almost celebrating their 9th anniversary coming up next year. So they're still going strong, still a great firm. But that's really where I felt like there was an opportunity for me to be a leader in a firm, but not just a leader in a firm, but a leader of people that we could all, that I could inspire in some way, others around me to do a good job, to do good work for a community, and ultimately make a living, because I think that's why we're all here.
When you think about what advice you might offer to individuals like yourself or other architects who are wanting to find themselves on the path to a leadership position, what advice do you give to up-and-coming architects about what it takes to actually run a firm?
Well, I think what advice to run a firm? I don't have a book to provide. I don't have my own book that I'm writing at the moment on how to run a firm. It's there certainly are some great books out there. There's some behind me that I've certainly read through. But I think the first bit of advice that I would give any individual, even outside the architecture industry, would be to create a network, to build a robust network of peers, build a network of mentors, even build a network of mentees. people that you feel like you can provide guidance to in your role, in whatever role that may be. I'm a big believer in dot connecting. And so to connect multiple dots, you need multiple networks and you need multiple people part of those networks. So the first thing I would do is to say to anyone asking is to create a network of both in industry and out of industry to be sure that you have folks you can call on for questions, you can call on for advice related to a circumstance or not. And then the second thing I would say to that is then to ask questions. So now you have this great network of individuals, this great network of folks that can provide you guidance. Now it's time to start asking questions. And obviously there's no such thing as a dumb question. You certainly aren't giving me any dumb ones today. They're all very, very difficult. But to ask questions and to be sure that you're getting that advice from others and you're really taking it to heart to build your knowledge base to become a great leader.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And in your role now, do you still have that network? Do you have a mastermind group that you work with? Do you have a circle of peers that you work with? Or are there any other organizations like PSMJ that give you that resource and that support as you're continuing to build the practice through your leadership?
Oh, absolutely. I drank the American Institute of Architects Kool-Aid from a fire hose when I first, even dating back to college with the student chapter. And at the Savannah College of Art and Design, our student chapter had a great relationship with the local Savannah chapter of the AIA. And that's where I really began to see the connections that people can and should make among each other. Again, whether it was with a student or a practitioner, whether it was with your own peers, but to be able to leverage that relationship. I can name a number of people from those times at Savannah College of Art and Design that still are part of my network today. And I do see them at local AIA events, at regional and national AIA events. And so the AIA is a huge part of, and has been a huge part of my career. In fact, I would say I wouldn't be here today without the AIA. Todd and I met through a local board. And I guess that's when he first saw that I had some leadership qualities in those work groups and ultimately led me here. So the AIA is definitely, for those in the architecture profession, definitely a great way to build your network. PSMJ has also been a great one. That's a group that I've only been part of for 2 or 3 years, but can already name groups and firms that I'm getting great feedback from when I have questions about running the business. What do I do in this scenario? And I'm not calling up another architecture firm, which could answer the question just fine, but I'm also calling structural engineers, or I'm calling civil engineers or contractors, lawyers that can really provide their own experience, which is outside of the architecture industry, which has really been valuable. And that extends to the construction and professional network as well. Here in North Carolina, a group solely based in North Carolina that is that peer-to-peer group from principals of companies, leaders of companies being able to make decisions and being able to talk about what those decisions mean has really been invaluable for myself and I know for the other leaders here at the firm.
Yeah, the community that I've observed, not only in AIA, but in all the A, the E, and the C, is really extraordinary. Wonderful, good people who really want to support and help each other. And if there's competition, it seems to be friendly competition because everyone is trying to elevate the industry as a whole and provide leadership across the board. In your role, either as a leader or just in terms of your architectural firm in your region, what are the challenges that you're facing these days, and what are the opportunities that you look forward to moving forward?
I think one of the hardest challenges that we have as a firm here, just in the market sectors that we lead, and I alluded to this a little bit ago, is that we work in the public sector. And through that public sector in North Carolina, much like as in Georgia, you are selected for a project based on your qualifications and really your qualifications alone. whether that's in written word, in a written proposal, or whether that's through an interview. It is both invigorating and exhausting to be in that realm of having to sell the firm, having to sell a process to get a project. But it's also very rewarding. The lowest of lows when you lose a project, but certainly the highest of highs when you are able to secure the project and win a commission, win a project for your team to continue doing the work that we love. I'd say sort of globally, one of the biggest challenges is to, drown out all the noise of the economic issues that we have in our local area, or what they're saying nationally. It's one thing to get caught up in all that talk, but it's also invigorating, really, for the state of North Carolina. One, I think, is superior in giving dollars associated with public work. And so we do see a great opportunity for all firms here in North Carolina to continue design work here for the foreseeable future with the recent passage of our annual budget. But then to not worry or get caught up in the issues of the recession word, or to really sort of just put pen to paper and get the job done, has been something that we are pretty adept at, which we're really proud of.
That's wonderful. And as you look ahead, what are some of the opportunities that you see in terms of projects and or experiences that your team can have that excite you about the future?
We have been very successful. I mean, it's been a challenge at times, but we've been very successful over the past 18 to 24 months in our pursuits, in our marketing efforts. We have a great backlog, which we're really, really proud of. And that way we can be pretty selective about what we continue to pursue. That makes it, easy to really sort of refine our process and to be sure that we're focused on the right project in those pursuits. But we've been really blessed, and it's the firm, it's the team that's able to get the work done, that is able to keep clients happy, which has really bought into that success through our marketing efforts.
One question that I've been asking a lot of individuals within the AEC industry, and not a question I teed you up to, so it may take you a moment to ponder it, but it is a question of AI. I know that AI is a big buzzword across all industry, but particularly within the AEC space, both from a marketing standpoint as well as tools in actual architecture and design, AI seems to be moving in. How are you and your firm preparing for this new step in technology?
We are aware of it. We are taking baby steps to figure out how it can be part of our process, of how it can be part of our workflows. We are leveraging it to some extent now with some of our proposal generation. But there is so much out there. It seems like every conference these days has a keynote or a session or a track on AI. And again, to talk about noise again, to be able to know what's going to fit with your firm, what's going to fit within your process is going to be challenging. It's certainly not something that I don't feel like is something that you can just go all in at. There's just too much to understand. We still have a job to do. But I do think that it is going to be part of our culture. It'll be part of our workflow. It'll be part of society. And we do need, as a firm, to take bigger steps, be more confident in the steps that we do take on how AI can be part of our process. If not, I think other folks will leapfrog. Other folks will continue to move farther ahead of us in those respects.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier was that that you have a wife and two wonderful children. It was a joy for me two AIAs ago,
Yeah.
I guess, into Chicago when AIA was in Chicago, that I had a chance to meet your wife and your wonderful kids. And then again in San Francisco on the boat cruise when we were
Yeah.
touring the harbor. I would love to know, just on a personal level, for the work-life balance conversation is always a big one. And I'm curious to know for you, how do you balance work-life and what inspires you about bringing your children to those experiences?
That's a good question. And I will probably need to tag my wife on this video so she can see my eloquent answer. It all starts with her. We couldn't be a family without what she's able to do day in and day out. Obviously, the firm leadership role here has me focused on sustaining the firm for years to come, and marketing work, being sure that work gets done, empowering others. And so back home, it's all happening, and she certainly keeps the fort running, and couldn't do without her. Related to my kids, I know of others in the AIA who have taken their kids to conferences before and are now adult age who are still going to conferences. And I wholeheartedly believe that networking and dot connecting doesn't just start when you're out of college and in the real world, but I think it does start as young as you can talk. So both my kids are going to remember yourself. Both of my kids are going to remember the experiences, remember the people that they meet, and ultimately, where does that lead them in 10 or 15 years when they're out of college and looking for a job and dot connecting to find individuals that can sustain their career and grow their network. So I wholeheartedly believe being able to allow my kids to be part of that is very important to both Natalie and I.
That's wonderful. And I think it also allows you to kind of check off those boxes on your list of seeing all the baseball stadiums, correct? I believe you have been
That's
on
right.
tour or have. Tell us a little bit more about your passions outside of architecture and the things that keep you going and the things you enjoy when you're not working.
Well, baseball is my favorite pastime, and you are right. I am trying to see a baseball game played in all 32 baseball ballparks. No time requirement here, but the one team that I'm following is the Atlanta Braves. So I can't just go watch the Pirates play the Red Sox and call that good at Fenway. I've got to see the Braves play at Fenway for it to count. So I'm doing that with my brother, which is really awesome too, to engage in camaraderie with him. And other than that, we like to stay outside. Right now it's beautiful in North Carolina. A little bit warm today, about in the 80s, which is unreasonably warm at the moment. But mountain biking, hiking, what's great about North Carolina is you can go a couple hours to the west and get to the mountains. You can go about 4 hours to the east and get to the beach. So we like to enjoy both sides of the state when we can. But I would say the mountains are probably our go-to if we had to choose.
They are absolutely beautiful. And I've been thrilled, and thanks to you and your knowledge of AIA Aspire is what brought SagePresence there last year and this previous year. And it's been a joy to be able to experience Asheville. And I know it's only the tip of the iceberg. I haven't had a chance to fully see the full state yet, but I look forward to that opportunity in the future. Speaking of the future, I would love to know what excites you about the next 6 to 9 months to a year, whether personally or in work or a combination of both.
Sure. Well, I mentioned that Morris-Berg is turning 50 in January. So we have a whole year planned. I have aspirations for a great set of parties and recognition and community service. Definitely need to get on the ball about getting all that organized, but really proud of the history, the legacy, the three other principals in this firm were able to establish. And now between myself, Lane Allman, and Tariq Hamid have now been entrusted to continue that legacy for the next 50 years. Obviously, we won't be around for the entire duration of the next 50. But we do have a great team here, a great set of individuals. And there may be others too that are going to come on board and be part of that legacy, and be part of that, even that partnership in the future. So I may not have any high hopes other than the big parties we're going to have for this 50th for next year. I think I'm really just excited about the next 5 years to 10 years, and building the firm, growing the firm, not just in people, but in impact to the community that we can do. There's a lot more work to do, community service-wise, through our projects, through local efforts, through food banks, through animal shelters. We really want to be able to give back, and doing the good work that we do allows us to do that. And so it's up to our team to figure out what the next year is going to be, the next 5 years that are going to be. And I just can't wait to see it. I know it's going to be great.
Wonderful to hear, and wonderful to have an opportunity to dive a little deeper into a few topics with you today, Matt. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation with me and to join the community conversations with SagePresence. It's been a pleasure seeing you at events, and I always look forward to the next time I get to see you live. So whether that's in your neighborhood or whether that's another part of the United States, I look forward to the next time we connect. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Troy. I really appreciate it.